And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the CalVet webinar for maximizing your education benefits. We want to thank you all for joining us. My name is Kirk Eller. I am a training coordinator here with the California Department of Veteran Affairs in the California Transition Assistance Program. My colleague Jennifer Rudquist is here with me, and she's going to be collecting some information in the Q&A portion, and then also posting some information in the chat. So we will post some resources and links in the chat for your future reference, our resource book and our link map. And also, if you have any questions during this webinar, please open up the Q&A tab. The Q&A tab on the toolbar. And if you have any questions during this webinar, please feel free to post your question in the Q&A, and we will reach out to that question in a timely fashion as we can. But also, please be a little cognizant. We are going to present a lot of information on education benefits. So if you're not sure, if we may answer your question in the presentation. So before you go ahead and ask questions, you might want to wait until we go ahead and go through the presentation. So with that being said, that's the housekeeping. I'm going to go over the agenda a little bit. We're going to open up with a little brief of what your CalTAP benefits are and the California specific benefits. And then my colleague Cole Wagoner, who is our local interagency network coordinator for the North Valley region of California, he's going to give you some information on what his roles and responsibilities are as a link coordinator. And then we'll cover the CalVet employment or education pathway on how to use your benefits wisely, your GI benefits. And then we have Marcy Davis, who is a VA certifying official for the University of California, Santa Barbara. And she's going to focus on certifying your benefits and basically how to get the best buck out of your benefits. So we'd like to give her the majority of that time so she can focus on her topics. And then following that, we will have a Q&A. We will open it up and we will address all of the questions in the Q&A portion as much as we can in a timely manner. If we do not get your question answered within that time frame, please feel free to reach out to us at our website or our email and ask the question in a follow-up, and we will be sure to give you that information that you're looking for. So let's get going. Again, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. My name is Kirk Eller. I am a Marine Corps veteran. I served from 1986 to 1990 as a helicopter crew chief, and I joined CalVet in 2019, and I've been here at CalTAP since December of 19. So we're going to go over the California overview and what CalTAP is. CalTAP was actually designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras on their earned federal and state benefits and provide that continuum of care or continued support and assistance as those needs change over time. And how we like to do that is with our core curriculum, education, employment, and entrepreneurship and service provider pathway. So these 5 pathways provide information on each one of these topics. And this is where our California resource book, Veterans Resource Book, has all of this information in it as well. My colleague Jen is going to be posting the link for this Veteran Resource Book in the chat. Please download this information to your mobile device and have it available to you. Or you can go to our website at calvet.ca.gov at the bottom of the page, and you can also access it there as well. So how can you use CalTAP online? If you do go to our homepage at calvet.ca.gov, you'll see a variety of topics that you can focus on, but if you click the icon that's highlighted there, it says CalTAP, where the laptop is, it will take you to our CalTAP portal, and you can see here each one of the pathways that were listed before. We're going to focus on the California specific benefits, which is focused in the core curriculum pathway. So clicking on the core curriculum, you'll see a bunch of modules with information that are self-paced that you can read about, understanding resilience, healthcare, claims and compensation. But module 5 is where your California specific benefits will be located. If you click that link, it will take you to the module. So what are your California benefits? It begins in chapter 1 of your resource book. And here you can see here. So the California specific benefits, they range based on eligibility, what your veteran status is as a disabled veteran. These highlighted here would be some of the popular ones are the college tuition fee waiver. And again, I'm going to go through these California specific benefits rather quickly. If you do have any questions about each one of these topics, feel free to put it in the Q&A. We can address it at the end, or you can reach out to us directly at CalTAP at calvet.ca.gov, and we will respond back to you. So again, the college tuition fee waiver is one of the most popular benefits, which provides tuition waivers to dependents of veterans with a service-connected disability rating from 0 to 100%. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this in the education pathway. Other popular benefits are the veteran designation on your driver's license, the motor vehicle registration fee waiver, which if you have a 100% service-connected disability, you can have your registration waived on your motor vehicle. Reduced fishing and hunting license if you have a 50% service-connected disability rating from the VA, and also a no-cost state park pass or the Distinguished Veteran Pass, which will enable you to get into the parks in California free of charge. And then we have the disabled veteran property tax exemption and the business license tax and exemption fees. These benefits require you to have a service-connected disability rating of 100% from the VA. And then I would encourage you to check with your local entities in your county for where you pay your taxes to find out what benefits you can actually receive from the county. Some of our divisions that we have is the Calvet Home Loans, Calvet Women's Division, our Minority Division, and well as our Homes Division, which is long-term care, and Calvet Cemeteries. You can access information on each one of these divisions and what the benefits and eligibility are for these divisions on our website. So other common veteran websites that you should be familiar with is obviously the VA. The VA is transitioning away from like the e-benefits where you can manage your account. The va.gov, you can see here to review and look at your benefits for healthcare, disability, and education. But when you sign in at the top that's highlighted there, it will take you to what's called My VA now. This is the new portal to manage your benefits, which has now replaced the e-benefits webpage. And you can access information, manage any disability claims, education, and things of that nature. There's also My Health eVet, which is still running. This is a great website if you have VA healthcare, and you can actually make appointments, send messages to your doctor, and upload your health records, as well as your pharmacy needs. So now I'd like to have you to stay connected with CalTAP. You can actually provide a non-DoD email to this email address. It's caltap@calvet.ca.gov. You can also register on our homepage for My CalVet, and you can add CalVet's veteran services on our social media page. If you see the QR code to the right, you can see the Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as the CalVet page. And you can also attend webinars like this one. And we also ask that you will take a little bit of time to fill out today's webinar. You can see the link here, as well as the QR code. We do take your survey information very seriously, and we use that information to continually improve our webinars for future events. So please take some time today to fill out that survey. This is the My CalVet homepage where you would register. You can create an account there and log in. And the benefits of creating a My CalVet is you become available to receive our newsletter, and you can also filter out information and benefits that you're looking for to receive updates and information as things change. This would be one of our monthly newsletters that you would receive when you sign up for My CalVet. You can see our Deputy Secretary, Mr. Keith Boylan there. He's got our monthly message, and he will focus on a monthly topic or focus of the month. And you can also see upcoming webinars and find links to register for those topics of webinars for the month. This is my contact information. The 800 number is answered by myself and my colleagues here. We do pride ourselves in a live person answering the phone. If nobody does answer, please leave a message and somebody will return your call and get back to you about the information you're looking for. This is my email address to mine personally, so please reach out to me or any of my colleagues if you have any questions about these California specific benefits that I just covered. And now we're going to move on to my colleague, Cole Wagonar, and he is the North Valley link for the CalVet, and he's going to give you some information on his roles and responsibilities. Thanks for joining us, Cole.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Kirk. Just as a quick introduction, my name is Cole Wagoner. I'm an Army veteran, and I am the local interagency network coordinator, or LINK, for Northern California. Next slide, please, Kirk. So if you check out the map here, what we've done at Calvet is we've divided up the state into 8 regions that are generally connected by either population or geography. And we have a regional outreach coordinator, LINK, for each of these regions. So this is a person that lives in this area, that knows what resources are available in this area and can help connect veterans and their families with those resources. Sometimes just due to geography or population, it's difficult to kind of navigate the various systems and benefits that are available to veterans and their families. So it's helpful to have somebody that lives in your local area that can help you get in touch with those benefits, make sure you're getting everything that you're entitled to. So as you can see from the map, I am way up in the top of California, in the orange there. However, again, there are 7 other local network coordinators. So no matter where you're zooming in from in California, there's a local network coordinator in your area that can help you get in touch with folks. If you hear about something on this webinar that you have interest in, you can always email the link, and they can put you in touch with the right folks. Next slide, please. So what do we do as the links? Mostly outreach and education services. So working with service members, veterans, and families, working with service providers. So folks who are working in the veteran services field, making sure that those veteran service organizations are working together with one another and making sure that we're delivering the best possible services to veterans and their families. And then working in local communities, making sure that those connections are made, and through local emergencies when those connections are the most vital. Next slide, please. Some of the folks we work with quite a bit, we work with the Employment Development Department and America's Job Centers of California. And we also work with the National Guard's employment program called Work for Warriors for employment and training. We also work with all the county veteran services offices in the state. We work with our regional offices for the VA. We work with the medical centers, the clinics, the vet centers for healthcare, and not on the slide, but very important for today, we work with the veteran resource centers and veteran success centers that are in the California community colleges, California state universities, and UC schools. They have veteran resource centers or veteran success centers on campus to help make sure that veterans are getting all that help that they need, and ensuring veterans have a successful transition through the education system. Next slide, please. So this is the main line phone number on the top for our department. And then there's my direct phone number here. That's my mobile phone. So that goes with me when I'm on the clock. Also, both of my email addresses, they both go to me as well. So if you live in the North State, I'd be happy to take your calls, your texts, your emails, or even if you don't live in the North State, I can help try and connect you to somebody who might be able to answer your questions, or I can connect you to the link in your region that's going to definitely get you to the right spot. And then Kirk also mentioned all these QR codes on the side for our different social medias. I always like to plug the YouTube because there are so many helpful webinars that are previously recorded on our YouTube. If you have a question about a veteran benefit, that YouTube probably has an hour-long webinar about it. So really excited to be here today. Thank you to Kirk and the CalTAP team for inviting me, and really looking forward to this webinar and your questions.
Thank you very much, Cole. We appreciate you and all that you do for the veterans in the North Valley and throughout the state. And I'd like to piggyback on what he just said about the QR code for the YouTube video. In reference, if anybody wasn't aware, this webinar is being recorded. And we do have a PDF that my colleague Jen will post in the chat. And there's also a YouTube channel, and this will be uploaded to it at a later date. So you will be able to access this at our archived webinars as well as our YouTube channel. So, and we can also post the PDF of this webinar, of this presentation, so you can download it if you want a hard copy of it. And now we're going to talk about some of the practices for education benefits and recommendations. And we'll focus on this. We're going to go through this rather quickly, like I said before, so that we can focus on giving Marcy Davis, our certifying official, the maximum amount of time to cover her topics, okay? So if you have any questions about this, we can actually get back with you on these subjects. First off, I'd like to go to our CalTAP portal and highlight the education pathway. I do encourage any of you that are going to use your benefits to go through this education pathway, including any dependents that may be interested in using the college fee waiver, because there's some really great tools in utilizing, selecting a school, education benefits in the different community colleges, California State Universities, as well as University of California. So it gives you an overview of all of those education systems and how to select a school. So it might be nice even for your dependents, if they're planning on attending, to go through this. It can give them some insight as well. So those veteran benefits, the most common is going to be the Chapter 33 or the post 9/11, which is now called the Forever GI Bill. There's also Chapter 30 and Chapter 33 benefits, and we'll touch on those a little bit. But these benefits are based on time and service. If you have if you have 2 years or more, you're going to be entitled at the 100% entitlement for these benefits, which will offer up to 36 months of tuition and housing and books. You can also receive up to 48 months of total combination for Chapter 31, which is Veteran Readiness and Employment, formerly known as VRNE or VOC Rehab. But this is not really an education benefit. It's an employment program, which can offer education benefits during that program. We'll go over that a little bit more in the end. So the Forever GI Bill. The Forever GI Bill extends that 15-year limit from the post 9/11 bill. So now these benefits do not expire after 15 years. They are there and available to you forever. That's why it's called the Forever GI Bill. That was reinstated in January of 2013. It also provides full GI benefits to Purple Heart recipients, regardless of your length of service. So you could have been in service for a month and then was wounded and received a Purple Heart, and you would be entitled at the 100% benefit. It also restores GI benefits to students who may have experienced permanent school closures while they were enrolled. So that also increases your GI Bill payments by $2,300 per year for veterans with less than 12 months of active service. So if they have less than 12 months, they would be rated at the 50% entitlement, which is increase in pay to the $2,300 more a month. And it also expands benefits for veterans pursuing STEM degrees or science, technology, engineering, and math. And then you can also look up information on your specific benefit entitled specifically to you by calling the 800 GI Bill 1 or visiting va.gov in the education. This hotline you give them some information and they can give you what your exact entitlement is and what your benefit is available left for you. So the STEM Engineering and Math Scholarship offers up to 9 months of additional post 9/11 GI benefits, up to maximum of $30,000 for a STEM degree. It also gives priority entitlement to those 100% post 9/11 entitled who require more credit hours, because typically a bachelor's degree requires 120 units. STEM degrees actually are required to have more credit hours because of the amount of classes required to complete that degree. Remember that this program cannot be matched by a yellow ribbon program, and it's not transferable to your dependents. So speaking of transferring your benefit, if you are active duty and you would like to transfer your GI benefit to your dependents, you have to do it prior to your separation, and you have to contact your command because it's eligible, determined by the DoD. If you have transferred your benefits already to any of your dependents, you can look on our website and see how to use those benefits appropriately, like with the fee waiver and their GI benefit, Chapter 35 or Chapter 33. And you can also contact a career counselor or a personnel center if you were interested in transferring. So on the VA's website, looking up eligibility, it'll give you information about your benefits and how to apply. And you can also use the GI Bill comparison tool, which is a really great tool because you can plug in the information of the school or area where you want to go to school and by location, and you can get information on what your estimated tuition and your payments would be from your VA benefits, GI benefits. Here we're using San Diego just as a search engine tool. You put in search engine for San Diego and it comes up with City College and San Diego University. And you can see the highlighted there, the information will provide you what the housing benefit would be, $2,900 a month at 100% in-state tuition. And so it gives you an overview of estimated benefits, what you would be paid monthly. This is just the cost of attendance in California. Everybody knows that California is very expensive. And it just kind of goes with living with your parents, residing in the halls or off campus. And on campus, and the different books, tuition, and room and board, and the costs associated with going to a school. So you can see that it's going to be roughly, in the upper 20s to $30,000 per year for undergraduate degrees. Now, utilizing your benefits, like I mentioned, it takes 120 units to get a bachelor's degree, and that doesn't include any of the prerequisite or remedial classes that you may be required to take because they don't go towards your graduation requirements. So if you're entitled at 100%, enrolled full-time, which is 12 units, you're receiving your Forever GI Bill is only going to cover roughly 116 of those units. So you're going to fall short a couple units before graduation there. So you have to figure out how you're going to make up that downfall. Number one is take more than 12 units. And then this one you want to take into consideration very seriously because we don't ask anybody to take off more than they can, handle school or class-wise or unit-wise. But if you're capable and you can take more than 12 units, this could enable you to graduate up to a semester earlier. And the GI Bill, if you're 100% entitled, is still going to pay 100% of that tuition, and you're going to get your BAH and pay for your books. It's just you're going to be getting more units completed within that same amount of time frame. Excuse me. The next one is consider certifying at 3/4 time. And certifying, I'm going to leave this one to the expert, who is Marcy Davis. She's going to talk about how you certify your time and how to do it correctly. But basically, if you were taking 12 units, you would certify 9 of those units. And that would extend it out to where you can go from 36 to 45 months of your GI benefit. Just remember, if you are certifying at 3/4 time, you're only going to be receiving your housing at 3/4 time as well. So if you're at the community college level, you may consider using the California Promise to cover that remaining quarter time that you need to make up for. Another way you can use that is also participate in a work study program. This would allow you to earn federal and state minimum wage while performing VA-related duties. They also offer you a flexible work schedule and offsets costs of attendance. Just remember, there is no BAH or basic housing for housing while you're between semesters or quarters. Okay, the last one is a withdrawal or F. I'm kind of indifferent about this because if you take an F, you're going to have an effect on your GPA. And it's not going to affect your payment. So you're still going to receive your payment from the VA, but you're going to have to probably take the class again because you didn't pass. So you're going to have to make that class up. Now, if you withdraw that class, it's not going to affect your GPA, but you're not going to be receiving compensation for that class because you withdrew. So your BAH and your tuition would be reduced for that withdrawn class. Now you're going to need that class for graduation anyway, so you're still going to have to make that class up. So either way, you're going to have to weigh your options with the withdrawal or the F. It's just a way of situational awareness, how it's going to best suit you. Okay, the last one is tip 5, use the Veteran Resource Center. The Veteran Resource Centers are located across campuses all throughout the state, and they provide a conglomerate of resources for veterans and dependents. There's some really helpful people in these resource centers to assist you with your enrollment, certifying your benefits, getting your classes, the college fee waiver, maybe printing out documents, as well as sitting out and having a cup of coffee or just visiting with other fellow veteran students. And now financial assistance, or FAFSA, financial free application for financial student aid. Please, if you're going to attend, I encourage you to apply for the FAFSA, whether you think you need it or not, because it opens up a lot of doors for Cal grants and Pell grants. You have to apply for the FAFSA in order to be eligible for those. And then also the California Promise for the community colleges. This will waive your tuition for those. And then scholarships are highly underutilized. I encourage you to search scholarships, seek out one that may be appropriate for you, and put in some diligent time and write a good paper, and you may be receiving some free money to go to school. The Yellow Ribbon Program is geared specifically towards private schools. They typically have a higher tuition rate than a state-funded school, and the VA's 100% entitlement may not cover that 100% up to that tuition. The Yellow Ribbon Program kind of like fills that gap. It's an agreement with the VA and the school to meet in the middle for that, so your tuition is still covered. Veteran Readiness and Employment. This is the VRNE program. It's Chapter 31. This is an employment program, but they do have an education benefit as well. You can receive up to 48 months if you're eligible. You have to have a service-connected disability rating of 10% or higher. And the caveat is that if you have a service-connected disability and that service-connected disability prevents you from working and having gainful employment, you can be eligible to receive education retraining up to 48 months. You do have to apply. This is where you would fill out the Veteran Readiness Employment, VA Form 28-1900, send it to the Department of Veteran VRNE Intake Center. Caseworker will review your options and they will get back with you if you're eligible for that. Okay, now the fee waiver for dependents. This is open to disabled veterans, like I mentioned, from 0 to 100%. It depends. The dependents must be a resident of California. They have to be eligible for the resident requirements for that school. And it waives tuition at any state-funded school, whether it's a UC, CSU, or community college. And there are 4 plans available, A, B, C, and D. The most common of them would be Plan B. Plan B does have an earning threshold for the dependent, not the income of the individual, the parents, but just the dependent. So you want to make sure you have their income is below the national poverty level, which is roughly around $14,000 a year. For application of this, you can check on our website, get the application. And you can also check with your county veterans service office where you will be applying for this. You'll send that in with your information, the student's information to apply, and they will send out a award letter, which then you'll take to the Learning Institute to have your fees waived. Okay, Scholar Share 529. Real quick, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just going to give you some reasons why you may want to save for school. And then I'm going to give you a website for Aaron Lester, who's the expert on this. If you want information, you can contact him on how to set up a Scholar Share. There's some easy and convenient ways you can save on taxes and then save for school. It can be used towards any school. It's more than just tuition, impact financial aid and savings plans. It's affordable, and then anyone in the family can contribute to it. You can use it for other eligible family members, and it's a great investment, and also estate tax planning. This is Aaron Lester's contact information at treasury.ca.gov, and this is their phone number and email address as well. So you can reach out to Aaron, and he can give you on all the do's and how to apply. So Chapter 4 covers our education pathway. You can see the college fee waiver is listed there. So if you have questions about that, you can kind of review the information on there as well for each one of the plans. This is my contact information, my email again, and now I'm going to move on. Oh, on the higher education portion for Marcy Davis. She is the certifying official, VA certifying official for University of California, Santa Barbara. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Marcy. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Marcy Davis. I'm, like Craig said, I'm a VA certifying official. That's what they call us in the UC system. I work at UC Santa Barbara. I'm a veteran myself, and I'm also a dependent of a veteran. That dual military really works out in the end sometimes. So I have a lot of experience using these benefits and also administering these benefits in the state of California. I'm going to go to the slide. Oh, you can go to the next one. So a lot of the stuff, I work in the financial aid office. So I'm a financial aid advisor as well as a school certifying official. You'll find a lot of school certifying officials throughout each college in different departments. Some are in the registrar, some are in academic advising, some are in student services. I just happen to be in financial aid. And so a lot of times we get questions about how do these benefits, okay, I got the information from CalVet and the information from the VA about eligibility and what they could or how they could work, but then how do they work with financial aid? And that's a really important question because it really helps you maximize your benefits if you know how they're working for you on the back end. So anyway, this is my contact information. You could scan the QR code. That leads you to a website that's just separate from CalVet if you wanted to know. But I'm really passionate about, making higher ed possible for veterans and their families. And it's a really great pleasure I have working in this type of field. Okay, next slide. Okay, so a lot of benefits, military education benefits work hand in hand with financial aid. Sometimes it's to your benefit, and sometimes when people don't understand how they work, it could be a really sobering experience because you want to make sure that you have a limited amount of benefits and you want to make sure you're using to their max capacity because they were hard earned by you and your family. Okay, next slide. I know you have a lot of choice. You have so much choice with these benefits, and you have a lot of choice on whether you go to a public institution or a private institution. Because this is a CalVet presentation, and because we're talking about CalVet fee tuition waivers, and I'm kind of focusing on the public aspect, but know that there's private universities in California nationwide that also take the federal benefits. But I kind of just focused on the state, California state, and how those kind of work with specific California financial aid and other state programs. Okay, next slide. And and then you can click through the slide. So a lot of times at universities, they'll go over programs and funding, right? And I'm focusing on the funding, but know that many state colleges and universities have a ton of programs that are focused on supporting you as a veteran and supporting dependents on campus that are outside of financial aid. And those are very important to get you not into school, but also continuing finishing school. But I'm just focusing on the funding right now. Okay, next slide. So it will pop up. Oh, funding highlighted. Okay. Okay, so I spend this time doing this on my campus because I feel it's needed. So a student says I have VA benefits, right? And that could be a misleading term. So I always tell students and their families, like, you may not know how your benefit works. And I come from the background where you don't know how your benefit works. I feel like that's a good place to go. Some, especially universities, don't understand the benefits, think that the veteran knows exactly how these benefit works and has all this information. My experience is that's just not true. So when the student says they have VA benefits, that can mean a million different things. Next slide. So that can mean anything, right? They could be talking about anything here. They could be talking about the CalVet fee tuition waiver, which is a state benefit. They could be talking about the GI Bill. They could be talking about the ROTC or tuition assistance if you are active duty or reserve. So I really encourage students to, know what benefits, at least what they're called. And anything named chapter, like we talk about chapter 35, chapter 31, chapter 33, those are all under the umbrella of the GI Bill. So chapter 33, post 9/11 or forever GI Bill, chapter 35, dependent education assistance, that's all GI Bill. Federal benefits, and then state CalVet fee tuition waiver, right? They're separate. You get them separately. There's different eligibility for them, and they're used completely different at the state level. So just knowing what they are and what they're called is going to immensely help you when you're speaking to the university. Okay, next slide. Some of this we touched on, right? CalVet fee tuition waiver for dependents with 100% or 0 to 100% via disability. Next slide. This is what the CalVet waiver website looks like. Know that this university doesn't check your eligibility. We get a lot of questions about, how do I apply? What are they looking for? All eligibility questions go to your county veteran service office. We just refer you to them. You can go to any county veteran service office in the state, but the university doesn't determine your eligibility. Any college or university doesn't. Okay, next slide. And we went over this a little bit. You have to apply every year. You go with your CVSO. There's 4 different types of CalVet waivers. I kind of wanted to touch on, your residency is an important part of this, right? But your CVSO may issue a CalVet waiver to a student based on where they live, right? Based on their residency. They may be looking at the student's residency. But honestly, the CVSO doesn't determine your residency. The school does. And so a lot of times, especially for dependents, that residency status is based on where the parent is. So please keep that in mind. Sometimes the CVSO will issue a CalVet waiver that the student can't use at the university because they're deemed a non-resident. So it's really important for you to check, if you're considering a university in the state of California, check their residency qualifications, because that's going to determine how and when you can use a CalVet fee tuition waiver, not always the CVSO. And that's how the state legislation is made. Okay, next slide. This is what the application looks like. It's on the CalVet waiver website. It is a PDF. It's not an online form, and you're going to turn that into your CVSO. In this PowerPoint, I've kind of picked out things that we get asked a lot on the university level, how and what things work. So this is one of the big ones. Where is the application at? There's a link at the bottom of the page on the CalVet waiver website. And your CVSO is not the VA. They process CalVet fee waivers for the state, and they also help submit disability claims for the VA, but they're not the VA themselves. So knowing who your county veteran service office is super helpful, and your school can help you, point you in the right direction for sure. Okay, let's see what next slide. Okay, so this is UC Santa Barbara's cost of attendance for this next year. And now I just want to show this as an example of what the CalVet waiver actually covers, right? Because they're like, okay, great, tuition and fees are covered, but what does that mean on campus? And at UC Santa Barbara, right? So just click through. So tuition is for next year. This is fall, winter, and spring, because we're a quarter system, is $13,104. It doesn't cover other types of fees, though. You have campus-based fees, you have health insurance, doesn't cover that. So it only covers a portion of your total cost of attendance, and it's not even including housing. You don't get any kind of housing stipend or anything like that. So just be aware that you have other fees. It's not a completely free education whatsoever. You have other fees associated with the price of attendance. Okay, next slide. I just want to give you a special note about graduate student fees, okay? So this is the cost of attendance at, I pulled this one up because I like this one, Berkeley Law, right? So this is their school. So if you want to click through real quick. So CalVet will cover this tuition for residents, and next, click through one more time. They also cover what's called a professional degree supplemental tuition. And for the year, that's an additional $22,000. So when you're considering your different CalVet waiver options, right? There's A, B, C, and D. Know that it can cover things like professional degree, anything called a professional degree supplemental tuition, right? You want to ask your university about what the CalVet waiver fees cover. You want to ask those specific questions to someone like me who's a school certifying official, or to the financial aid office, because you'll be surprised at sometimes what the CalVet waiver can cover. It could be very surprising. You're still going to owe money, right? But I mean, something like this at Berkeley, that could be life-changing for somebody. Okay. Also know that different CalVet waivers, we get this question a lot, like age limits. They get them mixed up with VA benefits, right? You want to work with your CVSO to know Calvet waiver A, how do I apply for that? And what's the age limit? Calvet waiver B, the income level, and there's no age limit, right? There's lots of different things with CalVet that don't apply to VA and vice versa. So you really want to have start that conversation with the CVSO and continue that conversation at the university. Your CVSO and your VA office cannot tell you how these benefits work at university. It's really important when you're considering colleges to have those conversations. We'll talk to you. We're happy to discuss this, but you really have to have it at the university. Okay, just wanted to make a special note about graduate fees. Next slide. Okay, so I just want to emphasize that there's different types of plans. Calvet waiver A, Calvet waiver B are the most common. Calvet waiver B is most common overall because you can use it with other VA benefits. Calvet waiver A, there's some limitations there, but sometimes it depends on what kind of financial aid you have. If Calvet waiver A is an option for you, if you don't qualify for Calvet waiver B. So again, I have this conversation 20 times a day with graduate students, particularly. Really talk to the university about your choices before you go ahead with a plan, because they'll let you know what covers and how to best use it on campus. Okay, next slide. So that's a lot of information, so I'm going through it really quickly, but please note there's a PDF. I think it was posted in the chat. So GI Bill benefits, so anything with the chapter, go ahead, next slide. How do you apply? You go to va.gov. There's an apply for education benefits on the main page of va.gov. The student, if they're dependent, applies as themselves, or the veteran applies. That's how you get your certificate of eligibility. This is anything from Chapter 33, post 9/11, to Chapter 35, dependent education assistance. You're going to get a certificate of eligibility sent to you. Takes about 6 weeks for that to happen, and you're going to send that to the school. And that's the very first step of processing your benefits. A lot of students will say, okay, I transferred benefits to my student. The veteran will say, I transferred benefits to my student. What happens next? Well, that happened with the DoD website called MilConnect. So once you transferred, it's a DoD website called MilConnect. Now you have to let the VA know that you want to use your benefits. You'll get, if you don't know this already, the VA and the DoD do not talk to each other. So you have to let one, it's two sides, two hands. You have to let the DoD know first you transferred, and the VA know, hey, I want to use them now. So va.gov is helpful with that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so these, so I'm talking in regards to a UC system. I would assume this is true also in the Cal State and the community college district. These are the most common. These aren't all, so anything with a chapter, right? These aren't all the types of benefits that you can have, but these are the most common that are used on our campuses. And if you just click through real quick, the most common out of all of them are Chapter 33, the post 9/11 GI Bill, because a lot of dependents use that. Chapter 35, dependent education assistance, and the CalVet fee tuition waiver. And CalVet fee tuition waiver is also used, let's click through one more time, with Chapter 35. And sometimes we have students that use all three benefits, right? So when you're making, when you're trying to figure out what kind of benefits to use, when to use them, how to use them, and you have a student that has access to all three, having that conversation with someone like me, my position on campus is a federally mandated position. If the school takes VA benefits, they have a school certifying official from the VA there. So finding that school certifying official is going to be key to knowing how to use your benefits on that campus. And this is kind of like, I think we went over this before in previous slides. What did they cover? Tuition and fees. You get a housing allowance with the post 9/11 GI Bill. It's E5 with dependents pay, and you get a book stipend. Next slide. So this is another cost. So this is the same cost of attendance, right? If you want to click through 3 times. So it covers, these are the 3 biggest fees outside of housing that you'll find usually in the UC system. I'm putting UC Santa Barbara just because I'm from UC Santa Barbara, but you'll see some kind of variation in the Cal State and UC the same way. They cover tuition, campus-based fees, and health insurance. We're all flat rate fee universities for the most part during the regular academic year. So no matter if you, so they're going to pay this whether you're a part-time student or a full-time student. It's just your housing that gets kind of adjusted. And I kind of go over that in a little bit. But no, these are your 3 biggest fees. You might have other fees that the VA won't pay for, and you definitely have housing. and you get a housing stipend with Chapter 33. Okay, next slide. Let's see what I got here. Okay, so a rate of pursuit, right? So I said, if you're a 3/4 time student or a less than 3/4 time student, you still get your tuition and fees paid for it if you're a flat rate fee university, which most UCs and Cal States are during the regular academic year. Oh, go back real quick. You just want to keep this in mind. This is for undergraduates, right? When we talk about 3/4 time, these are the units. Every class has a unit assigned to them, 12 or more, right? You want to ask your university. I mean, they're pretty much the same on every university if they're taking, if 12 units is your max. But when you're using Chapter 33, you don't want to go under 6 units. Six or less, you won't get your housing. You'll still get your tuition paid for, but you won't get your housing. So there's all these little nuances that how you use your benefit that really, you really want to go and talk to your certifying official on campus to make sure you're making the right decision for yourself. All right, next slide. I think we're coming. See, what else can I say? Okay, we went over Chapter 35 a little bit for 100% service connected disability. This is dependent, so spouses and children. Just note, this is a monthly housing allowance, a stipend that's sent to you directly. I really want to emphasize, if you want to click through one more time, no tuition or fees are paid to the university whatsoever. So a lot of times students will use this with CalVet waiver. The CalVet waiver helps cover tuition, but the Chapter 35 does not cover any tuition or fees. So you still need to pay those to the university. They just give you a housing stipend, and I think that's about to go up in October to $1,400. Doesn't matter where the school is located; it's a national rate, as long as if you're full time, and you can go below full time. But Chapter 35 is just that's the max. We don't talk about this a lot, but reservists have benefits too. There's called Chapter 1606. The reserve portion of the GI Bill next. And I think we touched a bunch on Chapter 31, the Veteran Readiness Employment Program. There's more information on different slides, so I won't go over that real quick. Next slide. So if you want to click through these, so tips for making your benefits, I have kind of a couple different categories: FAFSA and financial aid award letter, VACA waiver and yellow ribbon, which a lot of people I'm sure are interested in, rate of pursuit and UTA consideration, and school programs and VA work study. Okay, next slide. So this is the most important part of my talk because I think some of them kind of repeat themselves just a little bit. So I'll focus on this. I know we're cutting close on time. Next slide. So if I can give you any kind of advice, it's file a FAFSA, a free application for federal student aid. You have such a long time. They open in September of last year for this current academic. So they opened September of 2021. They don't close until June, I believe, of 2023. There's like a 21-month window where you can file a FAFSA. Now, in the state of California, for state aid, they usually have this March 2nd deadline. Depending on university you go to, they can be lenient on that a bit, but still file a FAFSA. You may be eligible for different types of aids and scholarships that you don't even know about because you didn't file a FAFSA. Also, COVID grants from the federal government were given out to universities and colleges to disperse to students. Students that didn't have any kind of need-based aid, didn't have any kind of scholarship or grant, still got the COVID relief because they filed a FAFSA. I cannot express how important it is to file a FAFSA every year. Okay, next slide. And what is a FAFSA, right? I get a lot of questions about this. It's an application of aid. It's one application for all across the nation. If you put your school that you're intending to go to, you put them in somewhere in the application, you say, I want it sent to this school. It's sent to that school, like here at UC Santa Barbara. We get that information from the federal government, and then we start calculating your financial aid award. It's just one application. It makes it easy that way. Okay, next slide. Okay, like I said, it's open. There's deadlines, right? But if let's say you're going into fall, right? For this, maybe your students being a new freshman student or transfer student in fall, and you haven't filed a FAFSA yet, you definitely still can. I encourage you to do so. I also want to, I don't know if I have this in the slide, but I also want to emphasize that, okay, FAFSA information for the 22-23 academic year is based off of tax returns from the 2020 tax returns, right? So that's a big difference. Your financial situation could have changed tremendously. So I tell students, appeal everything. If your financial situation has changed from 2020 to now, which is very likely, especially in the COVID environment, you want to appeal with your financial aid office at your university and ask them to reconsider your financial aid award based off of current information. This is especially true for veterans that are coming off active duty. They considered your active duty pay, and now you're off active duty. You want them to reconsider your financial aid award. Appeal, appeal, appeal. There's people, there's not a computer, it's people looking at it. They will ask you additional questions. Appeal your financial aid award. Okay, next one. Okay, and a lot of financial, through the FAFSA, there's a couple of ways you can get scholarships, right? FAFSA is one of them. It's need-based type of aid, right? Does your financial situation grant scholarships, grants, federally backed Stanford loans? Oftentimes your financial aid award won't have your CalVet fee tuition waiver or VA applied until after you let the school know that you have it, and then your financial aid award will be adjusted. Next slide. Okay, coming up on time. Okay, so this is really, really important, right? So it's particularly with the CalVet fee tuition waiver, right? There are other types of aid in California that interact with the CalVet fee tuition waiver, right? So it means there's sometimes there's aid that you can have that will stack, meaning you can have them all at the same time. And some types of aid that will replace each other, right? So if your student gets a Cal grant, CalVet fee tuition waiver and Cal grant cover the same tuition and fees at every university. So you can only have one or the other. Middle class scholarship, the same. The California Promise grant covers what the CalVet fee tuition waiver cover. So it's good to know what types of aid, work with each other. Some you can use, like the Pell Grant, you can use with CalVet fee tuition waiver, and some you can't. So you really, really, really want to talk to your financial aid office and ask them about how your aid works. Next one, next slide. Okay, so this is just more reiterating that, right? Your VA benefits, like your book stipend and housing, don't affect your financial aid. It's only things that pay tuition. So next slide. Okay, so with VA benefits, there's a new act that came out called the Remote Act. And so colleges are now supposed to give you what's called a financial aid award offer, or what they've deemed to be a college financial plan. This is the federal, this is by the Department of Education. Anyway, it tells you how your benefits work, right? It's supposed to anyway, but sometimes they can be a little misleading because they'll put all your VA benefits in one chunk here. Next slide. Sometimes this is from UC San Diego, they will give you an estimate of what your aid covers, right? It'll say, okay, this is everything that this is for specifically for post 9/11 GI Bill benefits. It will tell you this is everything that your GI Bill could cover. Next slide. You can use the GI Bill comparison tool, right? This tells you what, right here it says tuition benefit rate 100% in state cover, right? That's the max amount it could cover. Next slide. But what you really want to look for is your financial aid award letter, because, okay, so this student has many different types of aid, which is very common. Can you click through 3 times? So they have post 9/11, chapter 33, health insurance grant, and Cal grant. So their chapter 33 is only covering a very small portion of their benefit. Now, next slide. Remember, I told you that GI Bill, next slide, next click through, could cover any amount of these tuition and fees. But because they had other types of benefits, the VA is the last payer, and they're only paying $622 a quarter. Now, why is that important to you? Because if you had a limited amount of benefits, like say 6 months of benefits, and the VA is only paying $622 a quarter, maybe you want to save that benefit, conserve it for later, spread it out over time. How would you know? You would only know if you looked at your financial aid award letter and worked with your school certifying official. So I have this conversation all the time with students, and they're very shocked about how little the VA ends up paying when they could pay a lot more, and they sometimes conserve that benefit for later on. I know we're coming up on time. I want to go over quickly the VACA waiver. If you go to the next slide. So click through once. So the VACA waiver is not new, but it's expanded. So the VACA waiver waives in-state, or sorry, non-resident fees for out-of-state students. So in this case, this is how much, right? The student has only has Chapter 33 tuition and has a VACA waiver. Next slide. Okay, so I speak to your financial aid or school certifying official. Next slide. I go into a little bit more. Next slide. So a lot about, quickly, I'll just do this 1 minute recap. Your yellow ribbon, right? Yellow ribbons were for public and private schools, right? They try to help cover what the VA wouldn't. And for public universities, it's usually those non-resident fees. They only covered a portion. And as soon as your GI Bill ran out, this is for post 9/11 GI Bill only. As soon as your GI Bill ran out, your yellow ribbon fund ran out too. Next slide. So many schools are still categorized as a yellow ribbon school because we made an agreement with the VA that we would pay yellow ribbon funds. However, because of this, what's called the Veteran Access, Choice, and Accountability Act, if you have Chapter 33 post 9/11, Chapter 30 Montgomery GI Bill, Chapter 31, and Chapter 35, so that Dependents Education Assistance, starting August 1st. Now, if you go to any university, any public university in the nation, you get that non-resident fee waived. And it doesn't matter if you run out of benefits. You still get your tuition waived if you're a continuing student. Super important. It's a great expansion of the program. Talk to your school about how that works at your university, but it definitely works here in California. I think I'm coming up on time, and I really want to get through the VACA waiver. We kind of went through rate of pursuit and unit consideration. These were kind of go to the GI Bill, know your rate of pursuit. Yeah, these are the same tips. You can go through, they're on my slide. Know if you're a full-time student or not. VA work study. So VA work study is for anybody that has any kind of chapter benefit, not CalVet, but chapter benefits, and they're using it 3/4 time or above. You can get, in California, that rate is $15 an hour and it's untaxed. So it ends up being a couple $1,000s if you work 20 to 25 hours a week. Use your veteran resource centers. That you'll find someone like me there sometimes, and then know that there's other resources on campuses that have nothing to do with being a veteran, but that veteran resource centers can help point you to, including childcare, including transfer centers, grad division. So, check them out. Get on, even if you don't want to be associated with your veteran status or your dependent doesn't, connect with them, because some of these are really, really large universities and they're a really great point of contact to push you in the right direction. Okay, sorry. I think that's all the time I have, but I appreciate that. And there's my contact information. So feel free to connect with me.
Marcy, that's a lot of information. We know it's a quick time limit, and we apologize, everyone, if it seemed a little rushed getting through that, but there was a lot of information. But we appreciate Marcy filling in and hitting this topic today. And we did get a lot of your questions answered in the Q&A. My colleague Jen has been fielding those questions. If you do have any more questions, please feel free. We have a couple more minutes. If anybody wants to stay on, you're more than welcome to log off. But I would like to highlight, this is our contact information for each one of us. Myself, my email, my colleague Jennifer, she's been fielding the questions as well as posting in the chat. You can email her as well, or Cole, his information is there as well. And then also Marcy for Santa Barbara. This is our contact information. I'll leave this up for here in a second. Moving forward, I would like to address the questions. There are a couple, Marcy, if you wouldn't mind, maybe we could kind of answer these live, or Cole, in a group setting here. We have one: which FAFSA portion offsets the CalVet tuition fee waiver benefit?
Sorry. So I think your proportion of FAFSA is, okay. So I think you're asking what types of grants, right? So the FAFSA, again, is just an application, right? Sure. To determine your financial need. So things that can come from the FAFSA are from the state are Cal Grant, middle class scholarship, and sometimes your university will have a university scholarship that's aid from the state. Any of those things can interact with CalVet. So if you have a middle class scholarship, your CalVet will be the priority because middle class scholarship won't cover all your tuition. Cal Grant and CalVet cover the same. So they'll often give you a choice. Which one do you want to use? It can be shocking to students that thought they were going to get Cal Grant and CalVet fee tuition waiver on top of each other. And that just isn't the case. So you really want to talk to your financial aid office about how that financial aid works on your campus.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. And we have a question about the presentation and the recording. Jen did put in the chat, the best way that you can watch the recording of this is from our YouTube channel. It may take a day or two, but we do have this recorded, and we'll be posting this in our YouTube channel for future reference, okay? So she'll probably put the YouTube link in there in the chat again for one last time. So please check out that website and keep coming back to it. And you can look at previous recorded webinars. There's a whole bunch of them there, so you can gather through. How do you complete the FAFSA to use the post 9/11 GI Bill? I think you did post that information where you had to apply for the FAFSA, the link.
Yeah, you don't have to complete it. I think that if you have to complete it, you don't have to complete your FAFSA to use the post 9/11 GI Bill. But
Right.
what happens is that a lot of veterans think that that's it, right? And a lot of veterans especially will qualify. I will guarantee you will qualify for more aid if you complete that FAFSA on top of what the GI Bill will cover.
Okay. Okay, so now we're getting a couple more questions here. We're gonna, we might go maybe about another 3 more minutes here, folks. So if you don't get your question answered, please email us your question and we will try to get back with you in them because we do have a time limit here. So the next question, if you had a choice between the Cal Grant and CalVet, and which one you're gonna use for the benefit later, how would you kind of use those benefits?
What happens in a practical sense, what happens is that it stays on record at your school. And so you can't use Cal Grant in the summer. It's not available. So a lot of times students will end up, students mostly take summer classes. So what happens is it stays on your record. And if you ever become ineligible for your Cal Grant during that year, or you take summer classes, it automatically gets applied. But you want to speak to your school about that kind of process at your particular university.
Okay, thank you. The next one, Chapter 35, 100% service connected. Does it have to be complete and not able to work? I do not believe so. If you are rated at 100% service connected and your dependents are eligible for the Chapter 35, that enables them to have the dependent and education assistance program and for the Chapter 35. And they can use Chapter 35 congruently with Plan B of the college tuition fee waiver. So you can use the Chapter 35 to offset costs of books or housing while they're having their tuition waived for Plan B, as long as they do not earn more than the poverty limit of around $14,000 a year. Okay, the next one is, how early do we need to start the FAFSA for the fall? I think you mentioned that if you're planning to extend the fall or for 2023, that would probably be next spring, right, Marcy? If they're planning to attend next fall?
That opens in September. It will open in September for FAFSA. So
for the 2023 semester?
Yeah, it opens. Yep.
Okay.
So when you're applying for schools, think about applying for FAFSA.
Yeah, I think it's good that they recommend them. You should apply for the FAFSA. You don't have to use it. You should still apply because, like you said, that opens up those other options and scholarships to be available to you. So, okay, everybody, I think that's going to wrap it up. We're right about 11:05. We want to thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank Marcy Davis and Cole Wagner for joining us and their presentations and the information provided. If you have any questions, again, I can't reiterate enough, please email us if you have any further questions going forward. We will get back with you on your question, but we can't stay here all day long, answer questions. We wish we could. So with that being said, I'd like to highlight some of our upcoming webinars. We have some strategies to enhance life through work and balance coming up at the end of the month. And then we also have another one at the end of the month on college tuition fee waiver, specifically on just that benefit. So if you have questions about the fee waiver, how to use it, how to access it, applying for it, and benefits that you can use congruently with it, focus on that college fee waiver on 8/31. Then going into September is it's mental health month. So we have PTSD, coping strategies with service dogs, and then of course, suicide awareness, which is a big month for us coming up in September. So please come back to us and see some upcoming webinars, and we'll be glad that you attended. This is our survey QR code and our link. Again, we value your input, and we do those resources to constantly improve these webinars to meet your needs. So with that being said, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all our guest speakers today. And on behalf of all of us here at California Department of Veteran Affairs, we bid you farewell, and until we see you again. So thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye, everyone.